Donald Trump has pretty testy relationships with other world leaders, with fallouts and blow-ups with traditional allies a pretty regular feature of his tenure, particularly in his second term. But one person who can seemingly do no wrong in Trump's eyes is Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. In the past week, it's been reported that the Trump administration is pushing ahead with more than $700 million worth of jet engine sales to the Turkish military, and expressed optimism about bringing Turkey back into the US's F-35 fighter jet program, which would represent a big win for Erdogan. Similarly, Trump told reporters that he's only going to this month's NATO summit because Erdogan is hosting it. Considering that there are many potential tensions in the US-Turkey relationship, from ongoing democratic backsliding to Erdogan's vociferous criticism of Israel and support of Hamas, Trump's affinity for Erdogan is pretty eyebrow-raising. So in this video, we're going to take a look at the Trump-Erdogan relationship, why Trump is such a fan of the Turkish president, what Erdogan gets out of it, and why it could hurt Trump back home. Russia once liked to think of itself as a major regional power. Perhaps it still does, but with resources depleting and attention still focused on Ukraine, the country's broader sphere of influence is shrinking. So in the latest issue of our magazine, we unpack how Russia's influence in their sphere is slowly slipping away. That's just some of the 80 pages in the magazine, because there's more to too long than you'd expect. Purchase your copy by clicking the link in the description. To start things off, let's go through some of the things that Trump has done recently to demonstrate his strong ties with Erdogan's Turkey. As we just mentioned, it was reported last week that the Trump administration intends to sell more than $700 million worth of jet engines to Turkey for use in the Khan, Turkey's first indigenous combat jet. Furthermore, when Trump was asked about this and the potential for Turkey to be brought back into the F-35 program, Trump said, "I'm going to probably do something that will make Erdogan very happy." For context, back in Trump's first term in 2019, the US imposed sanctions on Turkey and removed the country from the US's F-35 fighter jet program, as mandated by an act of Congress, in response to Turkey's acquisition of the Russian S-400 air defense system. This has remained a sore point in US-Turkey relations, as it's restricted Turkey's efforts to modernize its air force. So any move by Trump to bring Turkey back into the fold will be warmly welcomed by Erdogan. Meanwhile, it was more good news for Turkey last month when a US judge signed off on a deal struck by the Trump administration that ended the US Justice Department's prosecution of Turkey's state-owned Halkbank, which had been charged in 2019 with helping Iran evade American sanctions. The deal came after a meeting between Trump and Erdogan last year, and sees the bank make no admission of criminal wrongdoing, while committing to not engaging in transactions that benefit Iran. Trump's reaction to Erdogan's domestic and foreign policy is pretty notable too. Trump has offered virtually no pushback to Turkey's human rights record and Erdogan's continued crackdown on the country's political opposition. Instead, Trump regularly touts his friendship with Erdogan, saying that he likes him and that he's a great leader and a very strong person. Trump has even been happy to praise the Turkish president in front of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, despite the fact that Netanyahu really does not like Erdogan. In fact, after Ahmed al-Sharaa, who has close ties to Turkey, took power in Syria in late 2024, Trump suggested, but not in a way that was critical of Erdogan, that Turkey had engineered an unfriendly takeover of Syria, proving that Erdogan was, quote, very smart and very tough. There are many more quotes we could go through, but the point is that Trump is clearly a fan of Erdogan. So the question now is why? A simple explanation is that Trump and Erdogan just do genuinely seem to get on with each other, and this does appear to be true. There's also a theory that he has an affinity for strongman leaders, which is pretty well documented as well. The logic here is that Trump therefore admires how Erdogan has consolidated power, and that criticism of Turkey's democratic backsliding simply doesn't resonate with Trump as a negative factor in their relationship. Remarkably, Trump has acknowledged Erdogan's poor democratic record, but he did so in an uncritical, almost light-hearted way.
When I was in exile, unfairly as it turns out, rigged election, he knows about rigged elections better than anybody.
But there's more to it than just that. Trump has been pretty open about why he likes Erdogan so much, saying last week that everything I've ever asked him for, he's done. Trump added that Turkey had been a prime contender to join the war in Iran on Iran's side, and that he therefore asked Erdogan to stay out, and, quote, he stayed out. Now, Trump's claim that Erdogan has done everything that he's ever asked for is characteristically hyperbolic, and there's not really any evidence that Turkey was on the verge of joining the war. But nevertheless, the broad point that Erdogan has positioned himself as a real Trump pleaser does stand. He has backed a number of Trump's foreign policy ventures. For instance, Turkey signed up to Trump's Board of Peace and signaled its willingness to take part in the Gaza International Stabilization Force. Erdogan has also been very careful not to publicly criticize Trump, which is even more notable when you consider that Erdogan is not exactly known for his rhetorical restraint. Trump, like many other world leaders, may also recognize the importance of Turkey, and therefore Erdogan as a partner. Straddling both Europe and the Middle East, Turkey is a big diplomatic and military player in both regions, playing important roles in the Ukraine war and post-Assad Syria. Based on his comments, it seems like Trump respects Turkey's military capabilities, and perhaps he recognizes the important role that Turkey can play in filling any vacuum left by US military withdrawal from either Europe or the Middle East. So those are the several reasons why Trump likes Erdogan so much. However, we should conclude by making clear that for basically everyone else, this is a pretty controversial relationship. Back home in the US, Trump's chumminess with Erdogan has upset not just the Democrats, but also Republicans. For example, Trump ally and Fox News host Mark Levin reacted to the jet engine news by saying, "Stop giving our best technology away to Islamist nutjob Erdogan." Similarly, 4 Republican lawmakers, all Greek Americans, said that they were deeply concerned about the reports, adding that Turkey continues to be a destabilizing force in the region through its expansive and disputed maritime claims, continued illegal occupation of Cyprus, and rhetorical demonization of Israel. Democratic lawmakers, meanwhile, reacted to the Halkbank deal with outrage, saying that the bank's sanctions evasion scheme has been a critical finance lifeline for the Iranian regime. Trump's closeness to Erdogan also has implications for the US-Israel relationship, given the historically bad relations between Turkey and Israel right now, with the two countries clashing over influence in Syria, the genocide in Gaza, and Erdogan's backing of Hamas. In fact, in a bid to up the ante against Turkey, the Israeli government last week recognized the Armenian genocide of the early 20th century. It remains to be seen exactly how far Trump will go to please Erdogan, but if his actions live up to his rhetoric, he will face staunch opposition from allies and adversaries alike, from Washington to Jerusalem to Athens. And if you're thinking that that was a lot to take on top of the thousands of other stories happening around the globe right now, you're not wrong. You might even feel powerless in today's climate, and we promise you, you're not alone in that. If, like us, you're looking for evidence that people can still make a difference, we know exactly the place to go. And that place is Planet Wild. Planet Wild is a community-based nature protection organization that is passionate about helping our planet, one step at a time. The power we have as a collective really shines bright through Planet Wild, as your membership directly funds a mission every month to give our planet a helping hand. These missions span from ensuring the ongoing survival of endangered animals like the grizzly bear, to cleaning up rivers before plastic reaches the ocean, and even rewilding Europe's last ancient forest. And with Planet Wild, you can know exactly what you're funding. They don't leave you wondering where your money is going, because they document all of these missions in video reports here on YouTube, so we can see exactly what we've helped to achieve. The impact we've made will be right before our eyes. Planet Wild is for those who are tired of words and want to see action. So if you want to join the growing community of people committed to actually making a difference, you can do so for as little as $6 a month, and every contribution matters, big or small. And if that hasn't convinced you, then the first 100 people to sign up using the code NEWSGLOBAL6 will get their first month's membership paid for entirely by us. That's how passionate we are about Planet Wild. So by joining today, you'll immediately be able to make a difference and even see the impact you're having in less than 30 days on YouTube right here. You can cancel your membership at any time, so there's absolutely no catch. Just an easy, remarkable way to create real and lasting change. If you want to see them in action, then check out their latest mission protecting grizzly bears and other species by building the largest wildlife corridor in America.